This is Inside Badger Football with head coach Trey Shucker. Inside Badger Football is brought to you by Bell Wealth Services, Welch Funeral Home, Austin Wingfield State Farm, Southern Bank Corp, Southwest Sporting Goods, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Taylor King Law, Price and Company, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles Thompson and Kneebone, Certified Public Accountants, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto, R&T Dixon Enterprises, Arkadelphia Tire and Outfitters, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Batson Signs, Print Mania, Agent Jake Knight at Pennington Insurance, Cry Like Pro Elite Realty, and Sheffield Music Company. The host of Inside Badger Football is Chase Hartzell.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Inside Badger Football with Trey Shucker. I'm Chase Hartzell, and as always, we're joined by head coach Trey Shucker. Coach Shucker, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me today.
Today we're breaking down the Texarkana game. A bit of an unusual night in many different ways. There were a lot of delays, and the Badgers were facing off against a Razorback team that, much like the rest of the 5A South, is very improved.
Yeah, that's one thing to take away from our non-conference schedule. All 5A South opponents, all much improved from last year, I believe. The 5A South is a strong conference, and that's I like to give credit to those teams that we've played. We've played three really good opponents. That's what we want to do in our non-conference. We don't want to schedule teams just to get wins. We want to schedule a team that's going to push us and be competitive. And that's what we got this year. All three opponents that we've had in the non-conference are very good teams. They're going to make a really good, tough conference schedule for each other, and they're all going to have really good seasons we're expecting. And we were able to learn a lot from them. We weren't able to come out with any wins, but there's a lot of things to take from each game and build on and improve. And each game is different, and so there's a lot that we can do and use moving forward to become a better football team.
Well, there are 5 or 6 teams that are vying for a playoff spot in the 5A South, and all 3 of them happen to be on the Badgers' non-conference schedule. But, Coach, going back to Texarkana, I mentioned earlier that this was an unusual game. There were a couple of delays in this one due to lightning and then also to a lighting timer. The lights went off at 10 o'clock because of the lightning delay. Yeah. So quite a few stoppages in this game. What did that look like from your perspective, and how did the team adjust?
Yeah, so, going into the night, we weren't anticipating having that bad of weather. We knew that there would be some little cells in the area, but didn't think it would be to that extent. So we were delayed twice due to lightning, all in the same delay, but it extended the period. We were in a lightning delay for about an hour, and once we took the field, we got loose really quick. We play for a short amount of time. I want to say it was maybe 3 or 4 plays. It wasn't long. The lights went out on us just due to the lighting system being on a timer, and that's not unusual. But just the way the delays played out, we extended the time, and the lights went out. So we had to, they did a great job of getting those back on and getting us back into play.
It kind of gave flashbacks too of the Bauxite game in 2021 when the power actually did go out. Yeah. It was nice to have those LED lights, though, and know that the game was going to resume in a matter of minutes rather than a matter of hours.
Yeah, no doubt. But I thought our kids handled it well when we got them inside, sat them down. They tried to refocus for the rest of the game, and I thought we did for the most part. But just a lot of things to handle right there.
All right, well, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights right now. This was the game against the Razorbacks in Texarkana.
We ended up winning the coin toss, and we chose to receive the ball. We wanted to start on offense first and set the tone for the rest of the game. We knew going into it that Texarkana was going to play man defense. They were going to load the box and try to force our playmakers to make plays. And for the most part, especially in the first drive, I thought we did that. Cade being able to get out and get a first down right there is huge. Most of the plays in that first drive are positive plays. We played cleaner. Offense is one of the cleanest drives of the entire game. And, Texarkana did a really good job of adjusting as the game went on. And they just kind of solidified their defense as it progressed. They got stronger. And that's one thing that we've got to do better of, is we've got to continue to build on the big plays. This is a big play by Nick Williams. We're able to connect with him. It is one of the most explosive plays of the night. But really good first drive, setting the tone for the game. We feel good about it. And, Seth Molinari, sophomore kicker, puts the PAT between the uprights. And we feel good. One thing that we take pride in and we've done a really good job of is our cover down. From the very first game, we had a bust. And then ever since then, we've done a really good job of our cover game and our kickoff.
So the Razorbacks actually had to make a change at running back, but that's one position that it seems like Arkansas High is going to have no trouble with in the future, because they've got a lot of different backs that can find different ways to hurt you.
They sure do, and really at all their skill spots. You look across the board, every one of their skill players is very, very talented, and that's one thing that they can. It's one of their main strengths on offense. They've got a quarterback that's got a really good arm, and he also can use his legs and get loose and create some positive plays and extend plays. They do a really good job of running their offense. They're very, very tough to defend just based on how fast they are, how athletic. They've got some big guys up front, and they did a really good job of creating positive and explosive plays.
And I think we're having a bit of technical difficulties right now with our highlights, but Coach, the end of that drive actually resulted in a turnover, an opportune moment there for Caden Brown recovering a fumble recovery inside the red zone down near the 10-yard line. How did that play change momentum in this contest?
It's huge. Anytime that we can create a turnover defensively, it's big for our offense to have that momentum going into a drive. And, that's one thing that we've got to improve on moving forward. In the first 3 games, we're losing the turnover margin. Our offense has got to do a better job of taking care of the football various ways. There's been a couple situations where defense has made a really good play on us, and then some other things are just things we've got to improve on and do better at. And then defensively, kind of the same thing. We've created a few turnovers, but we're not winning in that turnover margin right now, and it's affecting the overall outcome of the game. But going back to what you said on that drive, we turn it over, or we create a turnover in the red zone, but our offense wasn't able to create explosive plays to be able to drive the entire field. In the game, we were backed up quite a few times, and our offense was not able to drive the entire field to be able to put points on the board. And that's one thing that we've got to do better at, is sustaining drives. We've got to play better on first and second down to get ahead of the chains, to get ahead of the sticks, and it'll make those third downs a lot easier to convert. It's very difficult to be behind, 3rd and 8 plus, to be able to convert those. And so if we can play better on first down, build on that on second down, it'll help our drives and it'll help us sustain drives. One thing that we've got to do better at, I've already mentioned that we've got to take care of the football better. We've had a lot of turnovers. We probably have just as many turnovers right now as we had all season last year. But, to me, I think those were easy fixes. Ball security is one, and then just going through our progressions at the quarterback position and reads and knowing where our eyes should be. That stuff is easy to fix to me, because that's why you practice. If everything was perfect all the time and it was already set and ready, we wouldn't have to practice. I wouldn't have a job. So my job is to make sure that our kids are coached well enough to do and play the game effectively and efficiently and the way we want it to be done. And so that's why we're here. We're going to keep coaching, we're going to keep getting better, and we're going to have a positive attitude and come to work every day. The season's not over. This week starts a new season for us. Our non-conference didn't go well. We're trying to develop a lot of players. We've got a lot of young players on the team, a lot of good players. Just because they're young doesn't mean they're not good. And, we're going to keep coaching them. We're going to keep getting better every single day, every single week, and we're going to build on the positives and learn from the negatives. And, the season outlook to me is still bright. I'm still encouraged on this season. Yes, the non-conference schedule was a tough schedule for us, and it proved that. But like I said earlier, it's a lot of things that we can learn from our non-conference teams. I think they did a really good job of preparing us for our conference. We've got a good conference schedule as well. Being in a 7-4A, we believe that it's the toughest conference in 4A. And our non-conference is going to prepare us for that, and they did. Going back to what we're talking about, we've got a bye week this week going before we start our conference play. We don't have a game this week. And so this week is going to be focused on ourselves. It's almost like we're going back into the last week of fall camp, those final preparations of just getting better at what we need to do, taking care of the football, maintaining blocks, defensively getting lined up, being consistent, good tacklers, just trusting our coaching points. All the small things. It really seems like in all three phases, really, it's just something small here and there that makes the play bigger than what it should have been. And so those are the things. It's the finer details of what we're doing to be a better football team. We've just got to develop and keep getting better every day.
Great time for reflection here with the bye week and get to look back on those lessons learned. Again, the final score in this week's game, Texarkana 36, Arkadelphia 14. We take a look at some of the stat leaders. Jay Purifoy having a great night at the wide receiver position, and Nick Williams with the big touchdown catch that got the offense rolling.
Yeah, Jay Purifoy, our wide receiver, had the most production for the offense from Friday night's game. He's one of our better playmakers, and we expect a lot of big things from him in the future as well. Nick Williams did a really good job as well. He had that first touchdown of the game, really set the tone. And then Cade McBride, he's commanding the offense. There's things that he's got to work on, but I think he's doing a great job up to this point, and he's progressing well. He's a guy that teams are going to have to look out for moving forward into conference play. Nobody's perfect. At every position, we've got to keep getting better. We all know that. But I'm very proud of how we've handled things up to this point. I think we've had a positive outlook, yes. Our pride's been hurt here and there, but I think our kids know what's ahead of them, know what we can be and what we can do if we keep coming to work and getting better.
And looking back on these past couple of weeks, we didn't have an episode last week for the Labor Day holiday, but we do have a couple of, before we go into that actually, we're going to take a look at some of the defensive stats.
Yeah, at the very top of the list right there, Quintavion Morris, he's a sophomore stepping in for us, had a big night, 13 tackles, put himself in position to make plays, and he's a guy that's consistently gotten better every week, and we feel really good about him. Nick Williams, senior DB for us, 11 tackles. Nick's one of those guys that he's our senior leader, and he's doing a good job leading us. And I expect, consistency out of him as well. Nakeeson Wimberly, defensive tackle for us, had a big night. And he's really, done a really good job of we're playing some younger guys on our defensive front right now, and I think he's doing a good job of leading those guys. Linebacker Reese Campbell, he's a guy that has developed over the offseason in the summer and put himself in a position to be on the field and make plays, and you see him doing that right there with 6 tackles, forced fumble, and a quarterback hurry. And then Braden Wagner at the corner position had a phenomenal job Friday. He had a tall task at hand, just based off of our defensive scheme. We played him at safety throughout the summer and the fall camp. Due to some injuries and some things that happened, we asked him to move down to corner. And so there's different technique there. He did a great job of understanding it and getting ready for the Friday's game, and had a great game. And then Lamont Jones, senior safety, returning starter. I think he had his best game of the non-conference schedule so far.
So looking back to week 2 now, you mentioned a lot of standouts from this past week at Texarkana. We're going to take a look at some of the standout players from the Trojans game with the players of the week for week 1, game 2 of the season.
Yeah, I know we weren't able to do a show that week, but against Hot Springs, our defensive player of the week was Whit Alderson, sophomore defensive line, one of the ones that I mentioned. We're kind of young on the defensive line right now, trying to develop guys, and he's coming along very, very well and very quickly. We asked him to be a big part of the game plan that week, and the way that they were lining up and the plays that they had, we put him in position to be a big contributor and in a big role for our defensive game plan that week. And he stood up to it, and we thought our defense played really well against Hot Springs. Special teams player was Nick Williams, blocked the PAT, also had a couple good returns and tackles. And so he was, our most effective special teams player of the week against Hot Springs. Then our Badger Spirit Award was Jarrett Luna. Jarrett came to me in the spring and said, "Hey, I want to be a part of the football team." And we let him, and he's one of our managers right now and helps us with film, helps us set up all the equipment before practice, after practice, before games, after games, and always willing to help out and do what he's supposed to do, and always has a positive attitude about it. No matter what the day is, he's bringing some energy and making sure things get done, and he's a big help for us.
And now moving on to the players of the week for game 3, week 2, the game against Arkansas High.
Yeah, our offensive player of the week, Jay Purefoy. We mentioned him earlier. Had the most offensive production for the night. One of our better playmakers and continue to get better every week. Defense was junior DB, played corner this past week, Braden Wagner. Braden was a big part of the game plan and really didn't have many mistakes on the night. It's never a perfect game, but really understood the game plan and really did a great job of his execution and alignment. Special teams player was Nick Williams again. Nick's just one of our better defenders, but he's also a big part of special teams, and we take pride in our special teams. We don't just put people on there just to get them on the field. We put our best players on special teams because that's what we feel like we can take advantage of and create some momentum, and Nick's doing that for us on special teams. Then our Badger Spirit Award winner this week is Xavion Williams. He's a sophomore defensive end for us. He's consistently done a great job of giving us a really good look on our scout teams. Being a sophomore, he's rolling in at that defensive end position. He's getting better every week, and he's really giving us a great look whenever we put our scouts on there as well.
All right, well, congratulations to all of this week's winners. A good list of players there, not only some veteran talent, but also a lot of rising talent from some of those underclassmen. Seems like there's a bright future here for this program.
There is, and really, the future's now. Mm-hmm. If they're on the field, the future's now, and they understand that. Our seniors know that. Our seniors doing a really good job of leading those guys and getting them in position. I know it's hard to see that right now with, from the outside at least, being 0-3 and the non-conference schedule not going as well as we had hoped and wanted it to. But the future is bright, and that future is now, and that's what we've got to understand as a team. We've got to keep coming to work every day, bringing a positive attitude, and getting better and taking coaching points. The better that we can do that and do the small things right, the better this team is going to be, and I have a bright outlook on that.
Without a doubt. Now let's take a look at how some of the rest of the conference fared in the 7-4A with last week's results. Broke down the score. Arkansas High and Arkadelphia 36-14. Nashville, big win on the road against another team from the 5A South, DeQueen. Waldron falling short against Paris in a shutout, 47-0. That Malvern Lakeside game, it was close, came down to the wire.
Yeah.
Lakeside had a chance to win it on a 2-point conversion. Throw just fell a bit short, so the Leopards walk away with a 35-34 win. Big win for the Bobcats of Hope down in Ashdown, 14-12 the score in that one, and a good game between Mina and Lincoln. Lincoln coming out on top, 45-42.
And just goes to show you right there, the 5A South is probably as competitive as it has ever been, especially here in recent years. With Hope getting a big win for them against Ashdown, for 7-4A quality opponent. The previous week played Nashville pretty close, with another 7-4A quality opponent, and then you see Malvern and Lakeside, always a good game. Malvern being the returning state champs from last season. They returned quite a bit of their players back, and Lakeside played them well all the way down to the very last play. And so the 5A South is a strong conference right now. And then you go ahead and add Parkview in there, the returning state champs in that conference as well. And, I think that's probably one of the parts, a small part of why it is so competitive is because, they've got to play a former state champ, the previous state champ. And so I think every team in that conference has kind of raised their bar, and they're doing things a little bit better than they used to. And all the coaches in that conference are doing a lot. There's some new coaches in there and bringing some fresh life into the conference, and their teams are doing a great job of responding to that. And it's quality opponents all the way throughout.
And one more note on Parkview, a big win for the Patriots this week, defeating the number 1 team in 7A, the Bryant Hornets, snapping a 54-game win streak against in-state opponents. That's a big win for the Patriots going into the rest of their season.
That is a huge win. It's one of those things where it hasn't been done in a long time. Bryant getting beat by an in-state school. That's a huge win for that team and their program, and you can only assume that they'll use that as confidence moving into their conference schedule as well.
Well, one of the teams that we talked about that walked away with a win over a 5A South opponent was Nashville, winning 49-0 in DeQueen. After the bye week, the Badgers are back at home against the Scrappers, and these are two teams that have a lot of history with each other. Yeah. They've been playing each other for years, and it always seems like this game has playoff implications, sometimes even conference title implications. What can we expect from that game against the Scrappers?
It's going to be a hard-fought game. We're glad that it's at our place, home, Badger Stadium. It's going to be an exciting night. We can hope that everybody shows up and provides a great atmosphere. Usually that happens. And one thing that we're talking to our kids about is it's a brand new season. Whatever happened in the non-conference, it usually stays there. It doesn't follow you into conference play. Conference play, this part of the season is a brand new year. Everybody is 0-0. And so that's really what we're focused on. And the whole goal is to go 1-0. As it is for everybody, and so that's why we're focused on ourselves this week. We'll worry about Nashville during Nashville week, but it'll be a hard-fought game. It'll be a really good game and should be an awesome environment.
Well, it'll be fun to see the Badgers if they can go 1-0 in conference play on September 22nd at 7 p.m. at Badger Stadium. We encourage you to go out and support Arkadelphia, but if you can't, you can catch that game right here on ArkadelphiaBadgerTV.com. Well, Coach, that's going to do it. Enjoy your bye week, and we'll see you back here in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Inside Badger Football is brought to you by Bell Wealth Services, Welch Funeral Home, Austin Wingfield State Farm, Southern Bank Corp., Southwest Sporting Goods, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Taylor King Law, Price and Company, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles Thompson and Kneebone, Certified Public Accountants, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto, R&T Dixon Enterprises, Arkadelphia Tire and Outfitters, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Batson Signs, Print Mania, Agent Jake Knight at Pennington Insurance, Cry Like Pro Elite Realty, and Sheffield Music Company. Inside Badger Football is produced weekly by the Ouachita Baptist University Rogers Department of Communications and the Ouachita Sports Digital Network.